Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Nadir, back with a Card 5 Vanguard deck profile, so hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, Mr. Story. This time we're covering DZ Set 2 for Stoicheia, Zorga, Nadir. So Zorga Nadir, aka the faded one of Taboo, was the second to last, aka the penultimate faded one to be revealed with the Divine Skill. And his Divine Skill, while basically just giving us another 4th attack option for Zorga, is actually really good when you consider the fact he now has 2 ways to get 2 double crit B6 on board, and typically people criticize that, or at least from when it was first released, I saw that a lot of people criticize that, which is fair because we already had a consistent roaming Prison Dragon. But in case you couldn't get roaming Prison Dragon on board, and I think a lot of people saw it as Karma was supposed to replace roaming, that's not the case. They both work in tandem together, so now you have more consistent ways to have double crit B6 on board and more ways to get more numbers. So let's go to this deck profile start shot and see what we got, because honestly this deck works like old Zorga, but works a lot, in my opinion, it works a lot better than old Zorga, except when Mass Kez gets full power. Then it's a lot different, but you know, that's its own entity. First of today, we have our Ride deck Crest and the energy generating. You have one Ride deck Crest in your Ride deck. Auto Ride deck, when you ride, put this card into your Crest zone. If you win second, energy charge 3. Contains after 10 energies and auto begin your Ride phase, energy charge 3, and then act once per turn, energy boss 7, draw a card. You will never use that skill. Never during your gameplay. Actually, that's a 50-50. It actually does matter, because at least like half the games I've played so far with it, it has come down to should we use the energy blast, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But pretty much, you know, you get free 3 energy every turn. Sadly, while yes, the main grade 3 does work with that, because it only costs 2 energy, the main grade 2 costs 4, so we kind of have that like fluctuated energy numbers here, and sometimes you will need that draw because maybe you actually need to draw orders. So pretty much this deck is the most energy manageable deck you have to play with. Like, you have to, unlike Welstra, who is like a complete 180 where you have way too much energy, this deck you have to like manage your energy really well, because you might mess something up every like hint, and like every energy like actually makes a difference. So you have to play this like it's an own like actual resource, like CB or Soul Boss, which is honestly pretty cool, and that's one of my favorite parts about the deck. Then we move on to our units. So our starter and Calamity Slipper, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base, auto road upon for a second, draw a card, standard starter, nothing too special, but it's a free draw if you go second. You can really make this any starter, none of the ride line really requires it, but I choose to go with Calamity Slipper because that's the canonical starter for this deck. So one of them in the ride deck, but again, you can really make this any starter you want. Then we have our triggers for Over Trigger and Source Dragon Deity of Blessings, Bless for War, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, Over Trigger, one more trigger in your deck. When revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one units, it gets plus 1 for turn, and if you revealed it during your jet check, activate its additional effect, which you get to draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets a crit for the turn, all your promo gets plus 10,000 power. Every damage the same number of cards your opponents or more. You also get to heal a card. All around, pretty solid. It's an everything bagel, and that's why Blessed War is my favorite over trigger by a long shot, because regardless if you damage check or drive check, you're getting a million in a draw, so it's either someone's not getting hit that turn or someone is going through that turn, unless your opponent has a PG to stop it. But also, you get another free draw on top of the drive check if you drove check it, so you get 2 free draws, you get a crit, so probably to the thing you got the 1 million to, or to the Vanguard, or the Vanguard's already hitting. Your front row gets plus 10k, and you also get a heal out of it. Like, Blessed War doesn't guarantee the person who pulls it the win, but it does make it a lot harder for the other person to win, and that's honestly a really fun part about it. It doesn't guarantee the loss or win. It just makes it a lot harder for the side that's going against it. All around, Blessed War is amazing, and it's my favorite over trigger for a reason. So one of you can run Vulnerable for more attacks, but yeah, I'm biasly picked Favor over here. Then we have our normal triggers. Run 3 copies of Remade and Lena, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continues guard. So opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater. She gets a 5k shield. So, you know, 10k shield, nice to have. It's a good guard power, helps increase the hand of being a draw trigger, and that's honestly important when we need to constantly draw orders so we can play the game. And you know, 10k shield is nice as well when we're constantly running orders in grade 3s that cannot guard. We need extra guard power to, you know, manage that. So 3 of Lena is nice for that. Then we have a total of 8 crits. 4 Spicy Pepper, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. This can really be any crit. I do wonder about like the demo start decks, because if we all remember, the demo decks canonically have the same starter and triggers as like the official faded ones of their respective nations. And while the other ones make sense to some extent, like, you know, the only other one that's like kind of weird out there is Varga Dragras, where their crit is like a little cat, but like it's a stealth cat, and Varga Dragras is kind of like a Ronin dragon, so it kind of makes sense. We have Zorga over here, the embodiment of death, and not only do we have weird Spicy Pepper, but we also have the most upbeat thing in the world, literally called Cheerly Support Elf. I feel like Stoicheia was the weird one, and they just were like, F it, let's just throw everything we can into it, but whatever. Anyways, 4 crit, this can be whatever you want. I just chose to run Spicy Pepper because, again, canonical triggers. And then 4 copies of Aspire Made in Alana, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, or 4k power, sorry, my bad. Auto rear guard, then valid booster, put it to soul, choose music is 2k for the turn. All around pretty solid, helps increase the soul, which is not a problem with this deck at all, but a free 2k is a free 2k, and that honestly can make the difference at the end of the day. So run a total of 8 crits, then we run 4 heals and cheer the support. Elf grades, boost when you get shield 5k power. Again, make this any heal you want. I would have made this the weird fairy that I, for some reason, only now forget the name of, but the reason why I didn't is because, again, canonical triggers. You can make it this any heal you want. You can use the counter heals, but I prefer the normal 15k heals over the fluctuating 10 25k heals, but that's up to you. Either way, we run 8 crits for the pressure, because, you know, the rear guards already have double crit. Might as well make the Vanguard double crit pressure and draw orders because, you know, increase hand, draw orders, get shield, etc. Then move on to our grade 1s. 3 copies of a card I think I actively said was bad on camera. Or at least I felt that it was bad on camera. I may have not said it. But then after someone commented about it, I was like, you know what? They're not wrong. It actually does have purpose. So 3 of Fairy of Nectar Kotor. So grade 1 boost 5k shield, AK base, auto when placed on rear guard from the hand. If that just said when placed on rear guard, this would be the best card in the deck. Hands down, there would be no argument. If you do not play an order this turn, ditch a hand card, trick up to 1 order card without Regalia's piece, discard it, and it gets continuous. This card can be played from drop, and when it be played and put into the drop zone, put it to bottom deck instead until end of turn and shuffle the deck. So here's the important part to know. Yes, it costs a hand card. Yes, it has to be placed from hand, so you can't just revive it with Zorga to keep looping that skill. But if you place it from hand and you have no orders in hand, you ditch something and you get a free order, and because Zorga allows you to Alchemy Magic from bind zone, as long as the only card in your bind zone doesn't require you to ditch another order, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge about what one of the cards is, you can Alchemy Magic. Kotor is great because basically that means we have 3 extra orders in our deck. So honestly, I love Kotor. He's an amazing grade 1. Free order spam. He's got butterfly wings, which I'm a big fan of. So 3 of in the main deck. It's just a really good grade 1. It allows you to recycle orders. What's more to say about it? Then we have 3 copies of Spoof Shade. So Spoof Shade is a grade 1 with boost 5k shield, aka base, contains hand. When an order card would be discarded from your hand for your card's ability, this card may be discarded as an order card, and then contains back or rear guard circle. If you do not Alchemy Magic this turn, it gets plus 10k power. All around pretty solid because you can use it to ditch for order skills such as Gather Palmy, You Wandering Souls. So, you know, you get draft checks without having to actually ditch an order, which is important for, you know, skills. You know, so you can keep orders in hand for Alchemy Magic, that's what I was trying to say. And then contains back or rear guard circle. It being able to become an 18k when you Alchemy Magic is amazing. Like a free 18k booster that can possibly be called back from Zorga and get at least an extra 5k on top of it the first time, being a 23k booster. If you combine it with this very specific order, it gets an extra 5, so it's a 33k booster. Yeah, 33k booster. All around is a very solid. So just like Spoof Shades, it's a very good grade 1. Big booster. Order card drop for You Wandering Souls, and if you ran Ranker Chain in your ride deck, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, is not in this deck, but if you did run in your ride deck, you would count for that as well. All around very solid grade 1, 3 of. Then we have 3 copies of, if I could get to it, Conceited Noble Philander. Grade 1 boost 5k shield, AK base. Auto when placed on the rear guard circle from your hand, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose 1 card from one of them, discard it, shuffle the rest back into the deck, and then change rear guard during your turn. If your drop zone has 10 or more cards in it, give this unit up to 10,000 power. Weirdly enough, this Zorga deck does not get 10 cards in drop zone very easily, or at least, like, I notice it more often than I notice in the other Zorga deck. Like, in the other Zorga deck, it just kind of happened on its own, but, like, now I'm constantly checking my drop zone, and, like, every turn it's like, it's not a 10 yet, it's not a 10 yet. Like, I don't know why. It's not like it doesn't take long for it to happen. It's just that it's a lot slower, or at least I notice it slower than its predecessor. But Philander's ability being able to check the top 5 and set any card drop zone is great because it can set up Alchemy Magic binding, it can set up Spoof Shade to be called, or Karmas, or Roaming Prisons, or pretty much anything, which is great. And then, you know, if you do have the 10 cards, 18k booster. Spoof Shade is a little bit more easier to pull off in this deck because, like I said, I noticed it's a little bit slower with getting the 10 cards to drop zone with Philander. But once Philander goes off, they're both pretty much the same in numbers, so either way, they're both good cards to have. And I like to have them both at 3 of. They're like the comical duo. Like, I don't remember, like, what other deck I've had a comical duo in, but I remember, like, it was one of the Dragon Empire decks, and it's like, the rule was if I ran one, I had to run the other. So, yeah, 3 of Philander, 3 of Spoof Shade, they're either together or they're not together. They're either together or neither of them are here. That's how it goes. Then we have our PG, 4 copies of Honeycomb's Iris, grade 1 boost is 0/6k, base contains Sentinel. We have to 4 Sentinels in the deck on playing guard circle. Choose 1 units that cannot be hit on the battle if your hand is 2 or more cards in. Choose a card means card to standard PG. Nothing just basically means that this one, when a card in hand is one in your hand, when you place it on guard circle, you don't have to score one with great, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game, and typically you want to spam as many Philanders as possible on your Spoof Shades or discard fodder. You also obviously want to keep Kotor, because Kotor is going to be your Alchemy Magic freebie, but, you know, you're going to want to rush your opponent with Philander, maybe actually rush them with Spoof Shade too, depending on the situation. But then when your opponent counterattacks you, if you can't ditch an order or grade 3 for some reason, and you have no cards in hand, ditch the PG. Nullify the attack, you don't have to discard a card because of their skill. All around, very solid card to have. You can run Planet Prevent Dragon or Custodial Dragon over this because they'll have the exact same skill. But I prefer Honeycomb Xyrus because it came out closer to the time of Zorga Nadir's release, so 4 Xyrus. Then we have last grade 1 in the deck, 1 in the ride deck, none in the main deck, and that is a Bish Fissing, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto rode upon by Split the Preordained, Soul Blast Well, with top 7 cards of your deck to it to 1 unit card and to 1 normal order from among them. Reveal them both, put the normal order into your hand, and discard the revealed unit and shuffle the deck. All around pretty solid because it basically fills up your drop zone by 2 cards. The Soul Blasted card, which typically when a Soul Blasted is, to get an 8k booster ready in drop zone in case you don't really have any good free call targets because this deck loves to draw triggers for some reason. So in case you want to set up your drop zone, you Soul Blast this out because you can, and then top 7. Like say for example you hit a Philander, you send the Philander to drop, or you know Karma or Prison, and then you pick any one of your orders. And for the record, talking about the orders now, we're not going to touch on the orders until later in the video, basically towards the end. They're going to come after all the units. So if you want to quickly pause the video and like go take a sneak peek about all the orders that I just showed, because I'm pretty sure I just showed all of them, then go ahead and do that. But either way though, Abyss Fishing is a nice card in the ride deck. Some people don't like the fact that Rancor Chain got replaced by this because Rancor Chain had a more active skill. And frankly, you could still run Rancor Chain because it's Soul Blast 1, ditch, draw 2, ditch 2, and it doesn't affect Preordained at all. But I like to keep the ride line as real as it actually is supposed to be. So 1 of Fishing in the ride deck, none in the main deck. Then we move on to our grade 2s. 4 copies of Abomination of Impending Karma. The thing that I swear so many people commented on, that it was replacing Roaming Prison. Or at least like that's what the comment said, that it was supposed to be replacing Roaming Prison. My immediate thought process was, what the hell are you all talking about? It doesn't replace it. It's meant to work with it. I mean, but what it is what it is. Anyways, grade 2 instead of 5k shield, 10k base. Auto placed on rearguard circle, energy blast 4, and bind a normal order from your drop zone. And this unit will get plus 1,000 power until end of turn for each normal order with a different card name in your bind zone. All around pretty solid. That's why we have I think 5 different orders in this deck, or 4. We have 5 different orders in this deck. So the most you can get off of this is plus 25, which is all around pretty solid because it helps increase numbers to a good extent. The only downside is it's an energy blast 4. If it was 1 less, this deck would be so much more consistent, but they knew what they were doing when they put it on energy blast 4, because this deck actually would be, I don't want to say broken on Energy Blast 3 instead of 4, but it definitely would have been a lot stronger, like a lot stronger if it was just 3. But anyway, though, getting more numbers and binding stuff is great. And then auto drops on the beginning of your battle phase. If you have Vanguard Zorga and its card name and a divine skill, you did Alchemagic this turn. You may call this card to rearguard Zorga. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you do call it and your opponent's Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, it gets extra crit. So cool, you get to call it regardless if they're a grade 3 or greater, but they are a grade 3 or greater, you get an extra crit on top of it, so it's an extra Roaming Prison. And not to mention the fact that the EB4 can still be proc during that timing, so you can then bind an order and then get more numbers. So after you bind an order from Zorga's skill and get numbers to your rearguards before, maybe even played fill up so you get more 5Ks and maybe even Alchemagic with Cloud of Miasma, then you can give Karma another 5k per order by then calling it from drop zone, energy blasting a lot. All around, Karma is a very good grade 2. It's really nice for early game pressure because you can call it to board an early game and then attack with it, and then your opponent guards it, and then you can intercept with it and then consistently call back, or you can use it as discard fodder. Either way, Karma has so many uses in this deck, and it's a very nice card to have, so it's an easy 4 of. Then we have our only other grade 2 in the deck, 1 of in the ride deck, none in the main deck, because it doesn't have a rearguard skill, and that's Split the Ordained. Grade 2 instead of 5k shield, 10k base, auto rode upon by unit with Zorga and its card name, and has a divine skill. You have to 1 normal order from your drop zone, put it to your hand, so cool. Just like Husk Dragon, it adds an order back. The difference is Husk Dragon did it on the turn of Predorn, or the turn of his place. Preordained does it the turn after its place. But getting an order back to your hand is still pretty solid, because, you know, it now gives you time to set up orders, where maybe with Husk, say for example, you didn't have an order yet. That did happen to me once or twice where I just like bricked hard and I didn't see a single order. But like if you didn't draw an order, then obviously you can't use Husk's ability to bounce it back. So personally, I love Preordained more. I do agree with the people that liked Rancor Chain more, that Rancor Chain is better than Abyss Fishing, but I do think they both have their own respective merits. But again, I'm going to keep the ride line as you know, it's supposed to be. Either way though, being able to bounce an order is great because it can base it off of situations. Maybe after you played a Wandering Souls in the previous turn, getting Twin Drive, which is all around pretty solid, and then it has continuous rearguard. If you played an order, this turn gets plus power. You don't need it in the main deck because you can't Soul Blast out and call it, but I'm just going to tell you this right now. You are never going to call this, like, unless you brick hard, and by brick hard, I mean the only things you are drawing that game are triggers and orders. You are not going to need to call this because you're going to have at least 1 roaming and most likely 1 abomination to where you can call them. And even if you don't, everything else automatically gets more numbers. So unless this and this are the only other cards you're seeing in your drop zone that game, you are never going to call this from drop. But it is an option if you need to because it is a 15k. So 1 in the right deck, none in the main deck. Then move on to our grade 3s, 4 copies of Roaming Prison Dragon, the thing I've been talking about the entire time. Grade 3 time persuade 13k or 5k base, and I say 5k base for a reason. For those of you that played Zorga when it first came out, or played against Zorga when it first came out, I apologize for you because I know how it felt playing against this, and for the Zorga players, I also know how it felt playing as this, and it was so fun bullying my friend into submission with 43 to 50 something columns of double crit. And then with this deck, it gets less numbers than Mask does, but it gets more crit consistently, which I feel, actually no, Mask gets crit consistently too with roaming, but this deck has less ways to brick. Like, Mask doesn't brick often, but it does have a bricking option. While this deck obviously doesn't have a bricking option, it has the chance to happen less. Though for some reason, this deck loves to draw triggers and prove me wrong. So take that as you will. Anyways, roaming, for those of you that have not seen this yet and have not been PTSD and testified by it, auto drop zone, when you would play in normal order, you may call this card to rearguard circle whether you Alchemy Magic or not. So, you know, ditch it while you're a grade 2, get to preordain, gather upon me, you Wandering Souls, call from drop zone, and then you can still do the skills. And if you called it, you can perform on the following. If you Alchemy Magic, you perform all of them instead of just one. It either gets plus 10k for the turn, or it gets a crit for the turn, or, you know, again, if you Alchemy Magic, it gets both. But typically, obviously, the play with this is you get to grade 2, you Wandering Souls, you get the Vanguard Twin Drive, you call this from drop zone, you either give a 10k or a crit, depending on what your board presence is. If you have good boosters, then maybe you just give it the crit just for pressure, or if you don't have good boosters, you give it the 10k for pressure. Either way, the Roman Prison is really good because when you Alchemy Magic with it, it's obviously a really good number, 15k double critical with a good powerful booster and, you know, a god knows amount of orders you could spam with it, and possibly resandable thanks to Zorga over here. So for roaming prison, very good. Procs off at any time as long as you have orders. I mean, hell, if you ran the one, if you, over this, you ran the one grade 1 order that was like, I think it's in Search of Ideals Far Away, where you give a unit the ability every time your other unit attacks, this unit gets plus 1000 power. Then yes, you could just put this into drop zone if you were going second, and then play this, give the Vanguard the skill, and then call roaming. I don't recommend doing that, but if you want to, go ahead. For a roaming prison, it's a good grade 3. It acts for pressure, and it's usable at any point during the game, and it's just really nice to have. Then we move on to our last unit in the deck, but our last card in the deck, as evidenced by the 5 orders I keep going past. One of in the ride deck, 3 of in the main deck of our main grade 3. Faded 1 of Taboo, Zorga Nadir. So grade 3, Twin Drive, Persona Right, 13k base. I knew he was going to have 3 skills before he was even revealed. I was so confident he would, and I'm so glad I was right. Continues Vanguard Circle. When you play a normal order, you can choose a normal order with a different card name from your bind zone and Alchemy Magic. And the main difference there is all the other Zorgas require you to Alchemy Magic from your drop zone. This one allows you to do it from your bind zone, which is something I really appreciate. I also like how Zorga has upgraded himself over time. Like, the original Zorga obviously was normal order from hand, and then normal order from drop zone. Then you bind the normal order from the drop zone, which makes sense. And then obviously the upgraded version, the Dead Sea Spiritualist, did the exact same thing, but just in a different way and gave you more benefit out of it. And then Mask made it so that you can do it with cards of the same name, so it was a strict upgrade over and gave you more power. And then Nadir, while he does give you less power to some extent, he does allow more consistency with it. And not to mention the fact he doesn't require you to constantly bind the order from drop zone. So like, once you set up one in there, you don't have to do it again, which is all around pretty solid. And then he doesn't do it from drop, he does it from bind, which is nice. And then act Vanguard once per turn, Energy Blast 2 and bind the normal order from drop zone. If you're wondering how you're gonna get your orders in there, that's how. Choose up to 2 cards from your drop zone, call them to rear guard circle, and they get plus 5,000 power for that turn for each normal order with a different card name in your order in your bind zone. And then at the end of your turn, retire those units. So you kill your units that you call, but on the bright side, they're getting 5k per order. Typically on the first turn, you're obviously gonna have 1 unless you call Karma beforehand. I'm gonna say this right now, you're gonna want to save Karma for the turn you're gonna kill, just for numbers. So typically you're only going to have 1 in there, so, you know, free 5k to both of them, and the second turn you'll get plus 10, and then Karma will probably be its own entity, because you're going to want to call it from drop zone for the crit. And then the other skill, the Divine skill, Auto Vanguard, when it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, can be Vanguard or Rear Guard. Soul Boss 1, choose a column, stand all the units in the all the rear guards in that column, and at the end of the turn, retire those units. So the downside is you're basically killing your columns constantly, and I like how, like, that's what Zorga finally does. Like, it's been 13, actually technically 15 sets now of Zorga cards, and pretty much you would imagine that the deck that involves like the zombies and the undead, you would imagine they would kill their own, but they don't really do that often. And now when we finally get Taboo, it's like, yeah, let's remind us that we are zombies and just kill off our own cards. Either way though, I really do like Zorga's skill, being able to stand rear guards and give already 2 rear guards that have double crit another chance to go up, so you have 3 attacks with double crit, and the Vanguard inherently has the double crit pressure because of Twin Drive, and then you get more rear guards with numbers. You can Alchemy Magic more consistently by just having 1 card in bind zone, so if you set it up right, you pretty much don't have to bind for the rest of the game in case you want to use all of your EB on Karma instead of this. And if you want to use it instead of this, then, you know, you can just free Superior Call with its skill. So our own Zorga Nadir is a very solid grade 3, gets rear guards, free Alchemy Magic, and consistent Alchemy Magic at that, and not to mention the fact it gets a restand with a unit that already has double crit and really big numbers. So 3 for the main deck of Zorga Nadir, 1 of in the right deck. It's a very great card, and I love what they've done with the new Zorga. And on to our last few cards of the deck. All of them are orders. So we have 2 copies of Overcoming the Natural Death. Unnatural Death, grade 1 normal order, play it by counterblasting 1. Bind this card, and then choose the 2 orders from your drop zone and put them into your hand. So cool, it fills up your drop zone more, so it sets up Zorga for the next turn. But also, it can bounce back your orders for later. Say, for example, you need options for Gather Upon Me, You Wandering Souls. Well, Overcoming Natural Death can set you up for that, which is all around pretty solid, and allows you to recycle orders. You know, you can Alchemagic as well. Yes, Zorga doesn't require you to bind the first card you normal order with Alchemagic. It's always like the second card, aka the bind zone card here, so you won't have to bind the first card, but because you want to get those back in your hand, you're going to overcome natural death, which is nice. So it's a good 2 of. But if you want to run the In Search of Ideals Far Away, because I did talk about that earlier, you definitely can to add more numbers. So by all means, go either or. But I do prefer natural death. But again, you have options for roaming, so there's that. Then we have 2 copies of Gather Upon Me, You Wandering Souls, grade 2 normal order, play it by dishing an order. Trigger Vanguard to get to drive for the turn. I used to hate this card when it first came out because it before Spoof Shade came out, where aka ditch fodder for it, I never had whenever I would draw it, my order options would be if I play Gather Upon Me, You Wandering Souls, I'm not going to draw an order for the rest of the game. Like, that's literally how it always went when I played Gather Upon Me, You Wandering Souls. If I played it, I would not see an order for the rest of the game into my hand, meaning I would never be able to Alchemagic again, meaning there's a 50-50 chance I could be screwing myself over, so I have to like either be confident on the win, or I have to be banking my win on that triple drive. So 2 of you Wandering Soul, because now we have more orders, and thanks to Zorga over here not forcing us to bind from drop zone, we have more orders consistently with the bind zone options. And not to mention the fact fishing gets us an order, preordained does get us an order back, and of course thanks to Cortera over here, our job's a lot easier because we can just ditch You Wandering Soul into the drop zone. If we have an order in our hand, we can just use We Wandering Soul from the drop zone, bot deck it, ditch the other order, and then get extra drives. And of course, Boost Shade is fodder, which all around pretty solid. So 2 of You Wandering Souls for triple drive fodder, or twin drive fodder when you're on preordained, because that's one of my favorite plays now, just to give drive checks on grade 2 and car roaming. Then we have our grade 3 orders, 2 copies of Clouded Miasma, grade 3 normal order, played by counterblasting 1. Choose a grade 2 card from your drop zone, call it to rearguard circle. If this is a part of Alchemagic, choose one of your vanguards, and it gets continuous vanguard. All your front row units get plus 5k for the turn, which is great. So Persona right turns plus 15k to front row. But just free 5k to front row in general, especially when you have roaming Prison Dragon and Karma staring down your opponent, you're definitely going to want those extra numbers. So it's a nice 2 of, and not to mention the fact that this deck does not use up any CB outside of Overcoming a Natural Death. So you know, you pretty much have free CB range for the entirety of the game with those 2, which is great. Then we have Clutch of Grux Toxin, grade 3, play if you have a Zorga with a Divine Skill. Choose, on the Vanguard circle by the way, choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets auto Vanguard when it swings into a Vanguard, retire a rear guard. This is typically what you're going to do, just basically do what Masanori did against Suo in the anime, where you have both of these 2 set up, or 2 roamings, or 2 karmas, doesn't matter. Swing with one of them, they guard, they don't guard, who cares? Swing with the other one, they guard, they don't guard, who cares? Swing a Vanguard, Divine Skill, restand the column, restand one of them, and then whatever one's bigger, and then use Zorga skill, kill the one that you didn't restand, and then you continue with the effect of Grudge Toxin, which is choose one of your opponent's rear guards, kill it, and then this unit gets plus 10,000 power for that battle to end of turn. All pretty solid because not once per turn, meaning if you for some reason get a way to restand Zorga, Bushy, don't do that, but if they do get a way to restand Zorga, well then you can keep using that ability over and over and over again. But you can also kill pesky rear guards on your opponent's board, whether in their back row or front row, which obviously you're going to attack with the Vanguard all the time, because, you know, double crits, but being able to clear the back row is great, and not to mention the fact that you can also get 10,000 power for the extra battle, and Zorga is always going to be the weakest, considering, you know, your rear guards always get numbers, so being able to possibly proc off of Clouded Miasma, making it an 18k, and then plus this is 28k, that's also a pretty good number, so 2 of Grudge Toxin. And then our last card in the deck, Fill the Skies, O Brand of Corpses. I love how when this was released, people said this was bad. Like, straight up, the things people criticized about it was Karma, because it replaces roaming, but you don't need to replace roaming. You can just run both, and it doesn't have deck problems at all. Fill of Brands, because I don't even know why people said Fill of Brands was bad. They just said it was bad. And then Grudge Toxin, I agree. Grudge Toxin was iffy, and the only reason I run is because I wanted different named orders, but it's still a good option. It's just not that great. But anyways, Fill of Skies, like Grudge Toxin, you have to have a Zorga with a Divine Skill and his card name on Van. And then you can choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets continuous Vanguard. All your rear guards placed from drop this turn get plus 5,000 power. So, the reason why this is good is because most of the time your entire board will be made from drop. roaming, possible roaming, and or karma, and then you always call boosters off of this skill because your front row, aka these two, will always be superior call from their own skills. Meaning guaranteed your entire board gets +5. Except with Zorga's skill, the units called from his skill will get another +5 because you had the Alchemy Magic for that most likely. So let's just say at the bare minimum, those units get +10. And just to prove a point, let's just say it was 2 Lenas, just to prove an argument of points. So they're both at 14k base. Then let's say you call 2 roamings, because why not? Because maybe you just didn't have karma yet. So call 2 roamings. They both get +10k off of their skill. Actually, wait, no, let's say it was karmas, just because. Let's say it was karmas and you don't use the skill, and you alchemy magicked it with Cloud of Miasma. Cloud of Miasma, because the karmas are in front row, get a total of +10, 5k from Miasma, 5k from the Order, so they're both at 20, plus the 14k boosters. If you open like the worst way and you just see a bunch of triggers, you're still swinging for 20k drops overall. Because, like, worst comes to worst, you somehow manage to get 4 Lenas on board. That's not going to happen, but, like, because, A, there's only 3 of them. But if you did manage to just open up with a bunch of triggers onto board, you're still forcing out 20k drops per. Like, this order's good. It gives numbers. It's good as is. 2 of, all of them are searchable via Cortor, all of them work off Cortor. Spoof State Access, discard fodder. Philander gets them into drop zone. Searches, call target, extra crit. Add something back, call target, extra crit, extra power, consistency out the wazoo, drive checks, rear guards, numbers, rear guards, kill, numbers. So without further ado, I'm going to this one here. Hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is very fun to play. It is very powerful. I love what they've done with Taboo. A lot of people were worried when it first got released, and if those worries are still there, fair enough, but I think Bushy has done a really great job with this deck, and I cannot wait to see where it goes next. Without further ado, I'm going to this one here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us on Twitch, and I'll see you on this one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.